All right, good day, learners, good day, pupils, every one of you. Yes, it's quite nice to have you here. How has the holiday been? How has you been? How have you been going on with the holidays? I hope it's nice and I hope you are catching fun with the online summer we've been having, and I believe all of you are doing well. I've seen some of the works you have come up with, and it's very, very interesting. Okay, this is leadership training, and we are looking at the foundation of leadership, laying the foundation if you want to be a leader, and I believe you want to be a leader. So, a quick one now, let's go into our discussion today. In the pre-video, I already told you that we are doing the leadership training, and then it begins with understanding leadership, then we go on to becoming a leader, knowing your strength, then we go on to identifying leadership strength and development, and then the discipline of a future leader. So that's how it's going to go. But today we are looking at the part one of this leadership course, and that is understanding leadership. So the first question is, what is leadership? Now, when we talk about leadership, what comes to your mind? Who are the people that rings a bell in your mind? Of course, I can hear you. Possibly you are remembering the American former one great American president, Martin Luther King Jr., our great leader, you must say, because of the legacies he left behind, and this doesn't come cheap. Okay, another person you think of could be Mahatma Gandhi of India, right? One of the great legacy leader of the Indian nation. And then, of course, you can't talk about leadership in Africa without mentioning the Madiba of Africa, the Madiba of South Africa, talking about Nelson Mandela. So these people become very key, and you can go in and check many of their quotes on leadership so you understand why we mention them. Now let's look at definition. What is leadership? According to the Oxford Dictionary Online, it gives us several definitions, and that's what we'll quickly look at because we want to understand what leadership is. Before I take you into the nitty-gritty of leadership, how do you define leadership? How do I define leadership? How do I know if someone is a leader? Is it just by having a position? Is it by character? Is there something you have to put together to be a leader? According to Oxford Dictionary, it says leadership is the act of leading a group of people or an organization. That's leadership, the act of leading a group of people or an organization. That's to say that if you don't have a follower, if you don't have followers, then you are not leading. You just need to have followers so you can lead. And then it talks about leadership. When we talk about that in terms of leading a group of people, we know that there are different leadership styles. Now, we don't have the time to talk about that, I believe, but if we have time at the end of this, I will quickly introduce you to different leadership styles. But when we come to leadership strength and development, we'll look at the different leadership styles. Another definition of leadership here is that it is the state or position of being a leader. The state or position of being a leader. When you are given the position of leadership, then you are expected to lead. So you can call the person a leader. So he's a leader because he's in position, or he's a leader because he is at a time having that status of being the head. Okay, the party can also prosper. People can prosper as a result of leadership. That's why leadership is very, very important. Now, the leader, according to the Oxford Dictionary, also the leadership is also the people who are leading an organization, someone who is leading a country, right? So leadership has different counts, right? It could be a state, it could be a position. So depending on how you look at it. So we'll be looking deep into all that. Now let's move on now. I told you that this section we are focusing on what? Understanding leadership. All right, so our focus is to define, our focus is to understand what leadership means so that you and I can actually understand and identify a leader when we see one, right? How do you know if that prefect, if that person, if that teacher, if that your classmate is a leader? How do you know that someone has what it takes to say this person is a leader? How do you identify a leader and follow? Because if somebody is not putting up a good leadership character, you are not seeing something that shows that this person is a leader, then you don't need to follow such a one. So how do you identify? That's our focus in this particular section. Understanding leadership. Okay, understanding leadership. How do you know a true leader, right? How do you prepare yourself? Because if you don't know what a true leader is, you cannot prepare yourself to be a true leader. You cannot prepare yourself for the position of leadership, because what happens is that, someone said, when preparation meets opportunity, it produces what? Good success. So if you don't prepare for the opportunity of leadership and you are suddenly given the position of leadership, then everyone under you, everyone who depends on what you are going to do, your role, your responsibility, your decision, are going to fail. Someone said that there is no compensation for leadership failure. No compensation. No amount of managerial expertise can actually compensate for leadership failure. What it means is that in a home, your father is expected to be the leader, right? Then it's going to be very difficult to compensate for your father's failure, because who's going to be the father? Nobody. Who is going to be the mother? If the mother, because the mother also has her own level of leadership. So if they fail, how do you compensate for it? That is the reason why and that's why the school is deeming it fit, so that you can be prepared for leadership, so you can know what leadership is. Now quickly, I believe you have your pen, and if you can see the screen I'm sharing, we are looking at leadership. Can you spell leadership for me? Let's go, unmute your mics and let me hear all of you spell leadership. Let's go. We have the first letter is what? L. Then we have E, we have A, we have D, we have E, we have R, we have S, we have H, we have I, and then we have what? P. That is what? Leadership. So in trying to understand what leadership is, we're going to pick every letter of leadership and try to use it to define what leadership is about. Now, number one is what? Letter L. Now, letter L stands for learning. Learning. Every leader is a learner. Now, it will surprise you. Any leader who assumes position and think he has gotten to the point of knowing it all cannot lead effectively, because every leader is what? A learner. They are learning to get better, and they are learning to understand people better. Nobody knows everybody perfectly well. We learn each other every day. So if you want to be a leader, you are in primary one, your basic 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or basic 9, basic 7, basic 8, basic 9, SS1, SS2, SS3, and you want to be a leader and you are not learning, then you are not preparing to be a leader. Now, talking about learning, I think is going to be a topic for another day, or maybe I'm going to do a separate video on learning and share with you as the time goes by. But it is so much to talk about learning, because there are a lot of principles of learning that if you don't pay attention to, you can't learn. Learning cannot be assumed. Learning cannot be done just by sitting down in the class and listening to your teacher. It takes more to learn. So a leader is what? A learner. And you want to be a leader in the future, what do you supposed to do? Learn. And then the second letter is what? Letter E. Letter E. Another thing that makes a leader is what? Experience. Yes, experience. Experiencing challenges that shape our minds and understanding of life. Experiencing challenges that shapes our mind. So as a leader, the leader has had a lot of experience. A leader does not complain when they face life. When things happen to them, You want to know a leader, check them when they fail. They knock it off and they push on. You want to see a leader, check them when they make mistakes. They are not ashamed of it, they correct it. You want to see a leader, check them when you shout at them. No pride. They take it as an experience. When you tell them they are wrong, they say, oh, show me how. They are patient to listen, no arrogance. They have experience, and that experience shaped them, and that is what makes them a leader. So you cannot expect to be a leader if you have not faced life experiences. So life is going to bring you a lot of things. Some of you maybe because some subjects are difficult, it's an experience. You don't throw it off. You confront it, you overcome it. Why? Because you are preparing to be a leader tomorrow. That is it. So let's quickly move on to the next letter, and that's letter A. Letter A there is for attitude. Attitude. One author said, attitude is everything. Attitude. What you do when you are shoved, when something happens to you. Attitude. Right? That is what you use to know a leader. How they behave when things happen shows if they are a leader or not. How you behave when daddy corrects you shows how you lead, if you are really preparing to be a leader. What you do at home when responsibility calls, how do you behave when there is a challenge and everybody is putting hands on it quickly? What do? You think you are smart, you dodge. That's not smartness. That's not leadership. Leaders take the front row. They have that attitude of being a leader. They are ready to confront anything. They develop the right attitude in every circumstances of life. And then the next letter is what? Letter D. Letter D is for discipline. Yes, discipline. Now, discipline is the ability to restrain, to hold back, to stop, to withdraw from what you want to do. Something happens and you want to react, but then you have that discipline, you withdraw, you hold back. When everybody is doing something wrong, it takes discipline for you to hold back. It takes discipline, and every leader has that discipline. And the discipline, if you want to be a leader, you begin to develop it now. How do you develop discipline as a child? How do you develop it? By listening to your teacher, by listening to your parents, by listening to your elders. When they say it is wrong, you don't argue. You know, sometimes children, those of us who are growing in this generation, because we have access to the internet, because we have access to information, there is this assumption that we know so much. I agree with you. Yes, you know so much. But can I shock you? You understand so little. Because understanding comes with maturity. With maturity of mind. With facing experiences. With reading. With analyzing situation. Having the ability to have faced different circumstances in life gives you what we call understanding. Understanding. So no matter how you think you know, you cannot understand far better except it is given to you by God or by experience. So it's very important for you to learn to discipline yourself. Hold back when it's not convenient, when it's not to your favor. Hold back. You must not protest. It is my right. I must say it. He must not do that. He's not supposed to do that. That teacher can't talk to me that way. Does he know who I am? I am the son. Hello, you are not preparing for leadership. Leaders don't act that way. Learn to do what? Discipline yourself. Now, quickly, let's move on to the next letter. And that's what? Letter E. Letter E. Exemplify. Exemplify. That means being an example. Every leader becomes an example and a mirror which the world used to measure standard. When they come to school, can they say people should look at you? Can they say take example from you? Can people say this is this person, take a cue from that person. Leadership. Okay? Then R is what? Responsibility. Responsibility. Stephen Covey, who wrote 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, says that responsibility is your response ability. Your ability to respond and not to react. Something happens. Reaction means that you need to slap the person back. You need to curse the person back. You need to give the teacher an attitude. You need to give your parents an attitude. That's reaction. Response means you need to respond. You have that ability. Responsibility means you have a responsibility. Your ability to respond. Meet the teacher and say, sir, you judged me wrongly. The teacher is still shouting on top of his board. You are very calm. You make yourself an example because you have attitude, you have discipline. Then you show responsibility. And then the next letter is what? X. X there means what? Sacrifice. Sacrifice. A leader has ability to sacrifice. And to sacrifice means to give oneself or your talent or your resources for the benefit of others. You give yourself, your talent, your resources for the benefit of others. You give it even when it's not convenient. That is what? Sacrifice. H. Humility. Humility. Humility is you not seeing yourself as higher or better than others, regardless of where you come from, regardless of your color, regardless of how brilliant you are humble. That is how you identify a leader. Go and check every great leader. You can check up these 3 leaders I used as example in the opening. Talk about Martin Luther King Jr., talk about Mahatma Gandhi, talk about Mandela. You see them as an epitome of leadership because they were humble. I. Integrity. Integrity. Integrity is you see things as they are, you say things as they are, and you do things as they ought to be. Do them as they ought to be done. That is integrity. You accept responsibility. You say the truth no matter what the repercussion will come. What repercussion will come from it. That is what? Integrity. You know, personally, I've discovered that it is cheaper to say the truth than to lie. And I can tell you that I wonder why people lie. Because I always say this, if whoever you tell lie to means you are afraid of them. And the only person you should be afraid of is God. And you tell truth to them. Say the truth because you are afraid of God. Right? Say the truth. That is integrity. And then finally, is it finally now? Yes. Finally, we have the letter P. And letter P stands for what? Principles. Principles. Every leader has an understanding and they live based on principles. They have an understanding about principles and they live based on principle. There is a principle of learning. There is a principle of education. There is a principle of life itself. There is a principle if you want to attain success. There is a principle if you want to become a champion. There is a principle if you want to be loved. So you must learn those principles and abide by it. And the golden rule say what? Do to others what you want them to do to you. That means you want people to love you, you love them back. You want people to respect you, you respect them back. Remember, I always say that respect is earned and not given. Right? Earn your respect. Earn your respect. So that's leadership. Yes, that is what leadership. So a quick one. I want someone to give me the first 3 letters and then the first 2 letters and the first. So go down. Of course, if you're watching this on the YouTube channel, go to the comment section and tell me what you have benefited from this talk. So we go down to the interactive section immediately after this. Thank you.